The riders set off on their formation lap for the final race of the day here at Donington Park. The Rocket Off BMW F900R Cup last chance qualifier. 13 from each heat got through into the main event race, which takes place tomorrow here earlier on. And someone has just lost what looks to be a bit of bodywork, or hit a seagull, is that maybe? Or I can't quite work out what that is, but an incident here on the opening lap. It is a bird. It's a seagull that they've clattered into on the formation lap. Well, I was just about to finish a thought about how many riders are going to qualify for that, but that seems a bit more significant. Should we have a minute's silence, or how does it work? Harry Gower starts this one on pole position. Brandon Petty and Luke Foreman on the front row of the grid. Alex Bella, Ben Ribicki, Jim Lee on row 2. Nick Heath, Paul Barker, Dave Glossop on the 3rd row. Sean Woods, Leon Wilson, Josh Smith on the 4th row. With Benji Compson, Gary Cutts and Andy Booth on row 5. Then Giovanni Belliotti, Keith Jaggard, Kenny McLeod on row 6. And Michael Large-Taylor. 2 riders at the back there, Kenny McLeod and Michael Large-Taylor, were both in contention to qualify for the main event race in their respective heats, but sadly crashed out. So they've got a lot of forward progress to be making in this one. As I was saying before the seagull bit the dust earlier on, 13 riders from each heat qualified into the main event race, and what the upshot is that 14 from this out of the 19 that start will go through and into that main event race here tomorrow. So looking forward to seeing what's going to happen and how this one is going to play out, Danny Buchan.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for the seagull there. I mean, listen, trying to hit a seagull in a car, not that I've tried to do it before, is quite hard to do. You know, they're quite smart. And to do it on a bike at turn 1 with, I don't know what's gone on there, but yeah, a bit of a strange incident there, Tom.
It's got an Iannone.
I was exactly going to say that, the Iannone at Phillip Island, and this is similar tracks, Donington Park, Phillip Island, all that.
Oh, yeah.
So similar. But no, I think, you know, Kenny McLeod, obviously he had a lot of pace in his heat and went down, so, you know, I think he's going to be one to come straight through, and I think he's going to probably have a little bit more pace than everyone else. So, yeah, let's see what he can do.
Well, 19 riders taking to the grid then for this one. 8 laps of action ready to come for the Rocket Off BMW F900R Cup last chance qualifier race. And how's he going to play out then? Luke Foreman there on the outside of the front row of the grid. Brandon Petty and Harry Gower completing the front row of this one. But keep an eye out for the 2 riders at the back, Michael Large-Taylor and Kenny McLeod. As we said, good pace for them in the heats. Unlucky to crash out. They'll be needing to make forward progress whilst the grid is all bunched up. Green flag is waved at the back then. All eyes on the red lights as we wait for the revs to rise. Red lights are on. Red lights are off. Good start then from Gower. Not bad from Brandon Petty off the front row of the grid. As we come down towards the first corner, let's see who is going to make the best launch. Alex Bella there looking for a move on the inside.
Yeah, and I was actually giving Alex Bella some abuse earlier. I said to him, come on, well, I used to race motocross with Alex. I said, come on, you can do this. Get yourself out there and get a good start and go. And that's exactly what he's done. He's listened.
Yeah, Jim Lee, it actually is that now leads as we come down through the Crater Curves for the first time. Luke Foreman's in the mix there as well. And let's see how it all plays out as we come through that old hairpin corner. So, leading is the number 92 of Jim Lee. Alex Bella into third place, I should say, right behind Luke Foreman. And as we say, got to keep an eye out for the 2 riders, particularly at the back of Michael Large-Taylor and of Kenny McLeod, to see how much forward progress they're going to be able to make. Despite being what looked like a good initial launch for Brandon Petty, he has dropped back from his front row starting position. He's just on the fringes of the top 5 by the looks of things for now as we come out of Coppice for the first time. And then down in towards the Fog ETSs. So Foreman now in front of Jim Lee. Got good drive clearly through Coppice corner as moves being made there between Brandon Petty and what looked to be Alex Bella as we come down in towards the chicane, in towards the hairpin bend, I beg your pardon. And look at already Luke Foreman trying to build out a gap at the sharp end of this one here, Danny.
Yeah, everyone looks like they're safely through the Melbourne loop for the first lap, which is always a tricky one, you know, getting all the bikes bunched up. But yeah, we can see there that around the outside didn't quite make that one stick.
So Kenny McLeod from 18th on the grid is already up into 8th position at the end of this first lap, make that 7th position. Michael Large-Taylor started 19th. He's up into 15th. So good ground for them. Let's see what they can do over the course of the remaining 6 laps in this race then. So McLeod it is that we need to keep an eye on. He came across the line, as we say, in P7 on board the number 36. And getting his elbows out there is the number 15 of Brandon Petty, who's looking to try and right the wrongs after a disappointing opening lap. He's now through and into second place ahead of Jim Lee. So Foreman is that leads. Now into second is Brandon Petty. Jim Lee down into third position. Then it's Alex Vella on board the orange machine. Right behind him, you've got Kenny McLeod and Harry Gower, who are pretty close for company. Gower's just dropped back off of them, actually, as well. He's on board the number 73. Started this one on pole position, and he's dropped back to just outside of the top 5 now.
Yeah, what's worth noting as well, Tom, obviously Kenny McLeod had a bit of a crash and he got smashed into the floor a little bit. And, you know, that can sometimes get back on the bike, especially at this level when you've got people, you know, mechanics, you know, friends and family working on the bike. You know, the things might not be in the right places. When you've got a professional British Superbike team put it all together, everything's in place to make sure that's happened. And, yeah, Bella's up the inside there, up the inside of Lee. Is he going to make it stick?
I think he has.
He has. Lovely move.
Does he run it wide, though, on the exit and allow Lee an opportunity to retaliate? No. He manages to get decent enough drive out of there. Brandon Petty now hits the front in front of Luke Foreman then. So the 45 now down into second position. Harry Gower there keeping a watching brief on proceedings in the mid-pack at the moment. Kenny McLeod also, as we say, very much in the mix of this one as well. He looks to the inside of Jim Lee for third place as we come over the timing line and into the first corner of Redgate. Does he get the move done? Nicely done there for him. So fourth place, I beg your pardon, there for the 36 of Kenny McLeod. Also racing the Cup 600 Championship this year. And this is only the second time he's had to race in a last chance qualifier.
And he just passed through Alex Vella there through down Craner Curve there. So he's got himself up into third position now, Tom, which is obviously a good do for him. But
yeah, I think it was Jim Lee. I think he might have got through on actually.
Yeah,
as a matter of fact, yeah. So Jim Lee now demoted down a position and up into third place then for Kenny McLeod. So the Cup 600 rider, as well as a man who's finished close to the top 10 on a couple of occasions in the main event races on board the True Heroes racing machine, is now challenging, or will be challenging, I'm sure, before too long for the lead of this race. Down the back straight we go. Petty having a look to the inside. Foreman, though, outbreaks him in towards the Fogarty S's. Now, Danny, I don't mean to be detrimental to these riders, but some of them that are on the grid have not got the same pace compared to those we see at the sharp end in the BMW F900R Cup. What do you think they can learn from someone, for example, like Kenny McLeod, who, as we know, probably shouldn't be in this race given the pace that we've seen from him? Do you think that they could learn a thing or two from him?
Yeah, and do you know where these bikes are so evenly matched? You know, even, you know, they've got similar suspension, similar tyres, similar power. You know, you can do what the guy's doing in front of you. You just got to force it sometimes. And for me, I would be watching where they're braking. I'd be watching where they're accelerating, how much corner speed they're carrying, where they're coming off the brake. And I would just say, I can do that, you know, and I would try and do exactly that. So there's a lot that can be learned. It's just obviously doing it. So, I mean, now Kenny McLeod's in third place. What Kenny's done good is he's not done anything stupid. He's not rushed his way to the front. He's not been dangerous. He's taken his time and he's doing a good job at that. So, if anything for Kenny McLeod, it's probably going to give him a little bit more track time and a little bit more for tomorrow's races.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just biding his time here because pace-wise last time around, he was a 140.8. Whereas Luke Foreman was a 141.7, so about a second or so quicker. And I wonder if he's just going to wait for the right opportunity rather than just, you know, send it to the inside and go a day late and a dollar short. There's no point rushing this. I mean, we've still got half of the race left to go for Kenny McLeod. He's got plenty of an opportunity to attack, and you never know. Maybe you could see once he does launch a move for the race league, we could see other riders. You see maybe the likes of Brandon Petty and Luke Foreman trying to stick with him.
Yeah, well, Brandon Petty and Luke Foreman are doing a great job there to keep him behind. And again, they're all this front three seem to be really evenly matched. But what's quite funny as well, Tom, is sometimes when you ride around with people that are slower than you and not being horrible to the guys around him, you know, Kenny McLeod was a lot faster in the main event. But when you ride around with people that are slower than you, end up riding to their pace and you can't get out of it sometimes. It's a real frustrating thing. And as a rule of thumb, I used to set for myself as if I was coming through the pack was I had to just keep my pace and try and keep that rhythm and intensity. Because sometimes when you slow down back to what the people around you, you end up being comfortable doing it. So, you know, it's a bit of a thing where you've got to try and, you know, get through him as quick as you can to try and make himself, you know, to get himself away.
Yeah, so good battles going on outside and also on the fringes of the top 10. You've got Vicky, who's in the middle of your picture at the moment, but just up the front of them, Alex Vella versus Jim Lee. This is a battle for fourth place into Redgate corner. Vella through on Jim Lee, but Lee gets a great exit coming down through Hollywood and in towards Crater Curve. Such a fast part of the circuit, even on board these F900R Cup machines, as Foreman has a look to the inside of the old hairpin. Gets his nose chopped off, though, by Brandon Petty.
Yeah, look quite close there. Sometimes you can you can carry the speed through Craner, you turn right into the old hairpin, and you've just got too much speed, and the person in front of you slowing down. You can't brake any harder because you've got too much lean angle, so you're a little bit of a passenger.
Well, Foreman it is that still leads then. Petty in second, and Kenny McLeod sitting there, just biding his time at the moment. Interestingly, you can see McLeod's got a clear visor on. The sun, of course, now starting to set a little bit earlier, and I wonder whether it's just a case of he was hoping that there would be quite as much daylight as there is. Hopefully he doesn't get the sun in his eyes, whereas others have got some smoke visors on around him. McLeod to the inside for second place on Brandon Petty into the foggy S's, and he made that look nice and easy. So up and through another position on the podium. How long before he launches an attack on Luke Foreman? Just one more corner. Looks to the inside, but Foreman takes that sweeping line around the Melbourne loop and just holds firm for now.
Yeah, there are a couple of lines through there. You can go really tight and just try and scrubble your speed off, as you see him up the inside there, or you can take that line. Taron McKenzie used to have a real sweeping line into there compared to the likes of Kyle Ride, who's quite stop-start there. So, yeah, a couple of different lines there, a couple of different ways of making the lap time work as well. It's not, one way or the highway. It's, a couple of different ways. You see him there. Look, there's Kenny McLeod.
Beautiful.
Yeah, 3 laps to go. Perfect timing.
Up the inside and through to the race lead there for Kenny McLeod. Luke Foreman and Brandon Petty now sit in second and third place there, respectively. They've got a nice cushion over the likes of Alex Vella and Harry Gower, etc. Just a reminder, the top 14 riders will progress forwards and into the main event race. There's Vella battling with Harry Gower for position. Just on the fringe of the top 14 is Leon Wilton. On board the number 50 machine. He's got a little bit of a cushion, about 1.2 seconds or so over the number 91. That is Gary Cutts, who is just outside of it. So we're going to get about 3 riders, as a matter of fact, because Benji Compton has retired from this race with what looks to be a technical problem, who will not be making the cut here this afternoon. There's Dave Glossop on board the Hello Dave racing machine. A look over the shoulder, meanwhile, for Alex Vella, who's enjoying his spar with Jim Lee at the moment.
They're like waving at each other or communicating. I don't know what they was up to there. Maybe he was saying go back through. Don't know.
Oh, but, the painted stuff there as well.
Yeah, whatever was going on there was a little bit of communication anyway. Didn't look very aggressive either. It looked quite kind communication, which we like.
Did it ever work, though, communicating with another rider out? Have you ever found
Not really. It's just waving arms and pointing and screaming in your crash helmet, and they can't hear you anyway, so there's no point.
Yeah, the success ratio is, I imagine, probably quite low.
How many MotoGP riders communicate with each other on track?
Well, generally they do, but normally it's shouting off the one that's taking the other out into the gravel track.
Exactly.
Ben Rubicki is making some good progress in this one on board the number 77 machine, just behind Alex Vella. Having a good run of things, is he. Debuted in the championship at Thruxton. Has had a couple of main event races to his name. Never raced in a last chance qualifier. This would see him through. His best finish so far in a main event race is 26th, which was at Thruxton. His best finish overall was in Heat 2 at the same round where he finished Heat 13. So he'd love to try and better his total finishing position here in the F900R Cup. And a strong performance will help his grid position for the main event race here tomorrow. The higher up the order you finish in this race, the higher up your grid position is going to be, because essentially the last 14 just get tacked on to the end of the grid. So if you finish first in this one, you'll be starting 27th. Second, you'll be starting 28th, and so on and so on. So there is a lot at stake for these riders, depending on where they want to line up on the grid. And they will know that as well, as Harry Gower has a look to the inside of Jim Lee into Coppice. Not quite making anything stick into there. Coming into the penultimate end of the penultimate lap and beginning the final lap. As that was Brandon Petty getting one over on Luke Foreman. Kenny McLeod's trying to clear off into the distance. He's over a second in front of them now, and is just running his own pace quite nicely.
Yeah, he's just had a 39.8 in that last, the 1 minute 39.8 in that last lap. It just goes to show you, though, these guys, they're riding these bikes hard. The little Moto3 bikes, they only do 1 minute 40. So, and they're like prototype chassis. So, these guys are getting around here pretty quickly.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the F900R Cup, very accessible championship. 12 grand to go and buy yourself a bike with the race kit And all you need to do is get
Yeah, you, Tom.
Oh, yeah, I know you keep saying this, Danny. I have to say.
Wasted talent, mate,
No,
being in it.
being in the last chance qualifier, wouldn't I? I know I would.
And I'd love it. So I'd hopefully be commentating on it.
I know. Stick a microphone in the head. Actually, don't do that. There are too many expletives. You'd end up on first name terms with Ofcom, I reckon. Anyway, on the final lap we are. Kenny McLeod with a nice 2.5-second advantage, but who gets the podium positions and who will elevate themselves up the grid order for the main event race? Up the inside goes Luke Foreman on Brandon Petty into the old hairpin. Runs a bit deep, though, and Petty seizes the opportunity. Into the Swans curve. Side by side they go. Nose to tail between these two riders as they break in towards McLean's. Has Petty got the inside line? He has. Just has to sit up very briefly there, does Luke Foreman, but gets the switch back on the inside. Side by side they go, and nearly banging elbows as we come over the rise and into Coppice, and Foreman gets the better of him and is back through to second.
Them elbows sharpened, lads. It's the last lap. Let's go.
They're having some of this, aren't they? Luke Foreman and Brandon Petty. They're giving the fans a show here at Donington Park. Foreman going for the defensive line. That might compromise him, though, you know, into the braking zone. Petty goes for the sweeper around the outside, but Foreman just chops his nose off, closes the line quite nicely through the second part of it then. So into the Melbourne loop is going to be the opportunity that Petty will need. And he does! There's contact! No! He collects Luke Foreman as he moves over into the braking zone. And look over the shoulder for Kenny McLeod in the front end of this race. And what could have been second and third for these two riders is now going to come to absolutely nothing for at least one of them. Kenny McLeod will take victory in the last chance qualifier race here at Donington Park in commanding style from the very back of the grid right up to the sharp end of it. And how does it work out then for the final podium places? Well, it's going to be music to the ears of Alex Vella and Ben Rubicki as they will come over the line to take second and third place, respectively. In fact, make that Jin Lee. He got the better of Rubicki in the closing stages. So Jin Lee onto the podium and into third place. Well, a dramatic end to that one there, Danny. And the upshot is it's now allowed, if Luke Foreman can take the checkered flag in 14th place. In fact, he can't, of course. He's crashed out. He's walking away. This is Luke Foreman, as a matter of fact. So it's going to be the number 91 of Gary Cutts will be the final qualifier. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, he just goes up the inside and he just doesn't turn in. And Luke's there. He just, you know, Brandon Petty just stayed straight. It was a bit of a strange one, really. What he should have done is got up the inside and started to turn in and give him a little bit of space. He'd have got the position. That isn't what happened. So, as we can see,
gravel as well, trying to get the fight going. The upshot is Luke Foreman did not cross the timing line in the top 14 places, so will not make the main event race tomorrow. And, well, you can see there for Luke Foreman that he's out and he is spitting blood.
And he's not happy, and he's quite a big fella. So I'd probably, if I was Brandon Petty now, I'd probably just go and pack up the van and just try and get out of here before he gets back to the pits.
Yeah, Big Dan on the case. You'll
Big Dan, the security guard, yeah?
You'll have a nice word with
Side hustle.
Exactly. Bucket Enterprises branches out. Kenny McLeod takes a dominant victory here then at Donington Park in the last chance qualifier ahead of Alex Vella and Jim Lee, who round out the podium positions. Great result for the top three. They'll be delighted with that one. Luke Foreman will be bitterly disappointed and furious, I'm sure. And also for the other rider that was involved in that one, of Brandon Petty. And where did Petty come across the line? He came across ninth, so Petty does actually make the qualifier, despite all of that drama. He managed to, well, we saw him spinning up the rear tyre, didn't we, coming in the gravel trap and getting the bike out of it. And thankfully, the other riders were far enough behind that Petty, despite that incident, will get himself into the main event race tomorrow. I wonder whether the stewards might be having a bit of a look at that, though, to be honest.
I was going to say that, and if the stewards don't get him, I'm sure Luke Foreman will. So yeah. But, yeah, bit of an unfortunate one, that one.
Last chance qualifier results then for the BMW F900R Cup. Kenny McLeod takes victory from Alex Vella and Jim Lee. Ben Rubicki in fourth, Harry Gower in fifth. Paul Barker, Nick Heath, Michael Lodge, Taylor from the back of the grid up into eighth place. Brandon Petty, who will have his tail between his legs after that incident in the penultimate corner, in ninth place ahead of Josh Smith. Then Glossop, Woods, Wilson and Gary Cutts are the 14 riders that will qualify for the main event tomorrow. 2 DNFs in that one. Benji Compton retired with a technical, and Luke Foreman, unfortunate to be caught up in the drama with Brandon Petty on the final lap, sees him DNFing and not going into the main event race. He'll be bitterly disappointed and very, very cross indeed. Well, there we go then. Kenny McLeod makes his way into Parc Ferme. Didn't go his way in the heats earlier on today, but he manages to right those wrongs and gets himself into the main event in commanding style, coming from very near the back of the field, right up to take the checkered flag in first position. He's joined on the podium by Alex Vella and Jim Lee. Racing action continues at Donington Park here tomorrow. We'll be kicking off with the first race of the day, which is, of course, the main event for the Rocket Off BMW F900R Cup just after 10 a.m. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you then. Take care.